And that cannot happen just in the ERP system alone. That needs to happen across all the entire ecosystem of the business solutions that you have in your environment. And the enterprise content management system is key to that process. Okay, so maybe just the first one is, what is enterprise content management? So enterprise content management is a technology used to capture, manage, store, preserve, and deliver content and documents related to organizational processes. ECM tools and strategies allow the management of an organization's unstructured information wherever that information exists. So in simple layman terms, enterprise content management systems deals with documents. So you can think about your ERP system, how many documents are actually normally generated during all your transactions, stuff like picking slips, invoices, purchase orders, requisitions, so forth. Normally we just print that and that remains in a queue, and then nothing further happens to that, or people try and save it to somewhere on their drives or somewhere in a network drive. So what does a typical document lifecycle look like? First up, it's a capture or the generation of a document, then a classification of a document. We think about this as a manual process. Then there's a store and the retrieve later. So that goes into a file, that goes into a cabinet. And then later in a collaborate, then that document is used. And then when, depending on the business or the legal requirements, those documents are then disposed and trashed. Now, in a lot of cases, this is still a manual process and it need not be. All right, so why is an ECM system important to your organization? I think we all have recently had to deal with the POPI Act, so data privacy is more important than ever before. It's all good and well. I know a lot of us, customers have gone to great lengths to secure specific data within the ERP systems and other systems, but it does not help a hell of a lot if the documents are just lying around and that data is there on a physical printed document, or somebody can access it somewhere just from a drive or something like that. And then the next point where the ECM system will help tremendously is automation of processes. And that, I think, especially with where we are in JDE with orchestration and how that can automate processes, that ability that's got the ECM system can just enhance that even further. If you think about a process where a lot of people are going towards at this point in time, and a lot of our clients have implemented, is AP matching. Now, part and parcel of that is the ECM system or the content management system before the ERP. And then there's also in recent times been a significant change in the work environment, brought on by COVID from 2020, where a lot of people are now working from home, and a lot of companies are adopting a hybrid model where people either work from home or spend a couple of days a week in the office, and you're not in the office full time. So, where a physical document needs to change hands or something of that sort, it's difficult if an AP clerk is sitting at home. You don't want to courier documents, and that's a stupid example, but up and down to the AP clerk to do their jobs. So ECM system will also assist in that. Then there's obviously the environmental considerations. The less paper you use, the better it's environment. Let's save a tree in a forest here. All right, so next slide sort of just depicts the various areas where ECM system or content management system can add value to organization. As you can see, it's pretty much right across the entire business operations. It's HR, your normal operations, sales, accounting, IP, AR, service, manufacturing, you can add on procurement. Basically, wherever you generate a document within the organization, an ECM system will add value to that process. Right. So having said that, we went and we did a bit of research across the web, good old Google, and looked for information about ECM systems and what would constitute, what attributes an ECM system should have, and what constitutes a good system. So there's quite a few websites where they do compare the various systems and rate them. And these are the key things that the attributes that they use as part of a rating system. So the first one is kind of makes sense, which is all the purpose or the main goal of the ECM system, to have a central repository for your records and not have your records scattered all over the show and on various people's PCs or drives or something of that sort, of physically printed. Another important bit is the ECM system should allow for multiple methods of document loading. And what I mean by that is there's no point in the ECM system, you have to come to the office and scan the physical document in. It should allow you to upload it via mobile devices, via email, and etc., etc. Third point is also very important: artificial intelligence and machine learning. So the engine that, one of the first steps on the ECM system process sort of is for the software to recognize what kind of document it is, to understand what to do with it, how to process it within the process. Now, you don't want to code the whole time and say, this is what invoice looks like. Oh, this is what their supplier's invoice look like, or that's what their supplier's invoice look like. So artificial intelligence and a good tool or engine there to learn and so to start recognizing the documents. So, oh, that's an invoice. I know what to do with this one. Fourth point, or fourth attribute, is automated workflow manager. So the documents can be approved and routed to correct people to process and to handle. Fifth point there is robust security. I think that's also a sort of obvious one, but there's obviously two legs to that. One is to ensure that the correct individuals only see the documents that they should, but it should also have the ability to protect certain information on the document. So AR clerk, for example, you might want them to see certain details on the invoice, on the document, and certain details not. So a good system will be able to, so AR clerk, you can only see invoices, but you can only see this information on the invoice. Then there's advanced search and document retrievals. No point in storing the stuff. It basically becomes file 13 and nobody else. You can't find it anymore when you need it going forward. And then it also should provide you with modification history, tracking, and rollback. So basically version control. So if something goes wrong with the document, that you can easily recover it and correct whatever needs to be done, or go back to the correct version. It should also have auto redundancy detection. So based on a company policy, you might say, right, invoices I must keep for 5 years. A normal purchase requisition might have been printed as an example. We only want to keep for a year. So you obviously don't want to have somebody go sit there and then delete all these after a year. So a good system should have that ability to say, these type of documents, we only want to keep it for a year, archive or purge after that time has elapsed. Then point nine probably should have been point 1, seeing as we're talking about automate, optimize, transform, and basically how we can streamline all the processes involved in your ERP system and all the auxiliary systems with that. Your ECM system should have the capabilities to easily integrate with existing software and other software. So you should look at the integration with your ERP system. That's one. Microsoft Office, email. A lot of documents people these days are being distributed by or signed by something like DocuSign or Adobe. So the ECM system should have the ability to obviously easily integrate with that. Then hybrid hosting environment, web and on-site if need be, and obviously allow for guys to, from a remote location, like service guys or sales guys, out in the field, to access the system and to upload documents and so forth, like an expense claim or a work for a service order out in the field. Then also allow for creation of manual forms. You can maybe think of in our environment. There's a lot of forms that need to be completed. Say, for example, for HR take-on, for employees, master data and stuff like that, where there are forms that need to be completed. So if your ECM system's got that capability as well, then that's a good system. And then an analytics based on the various documents you have, and you can sort of get tracking and history on that. And then also, I haven't listed it here, but if a lot of guys are moving towards portals, so if your ECM system have that, then it's also a very good thing. So we just look at what the benefits are of an ECM system within your environment. First up, it's automated process. I'll run through two processes quickly. You can just have a look, see how that sort of works and what kicks in where. Then it should reduce costs, obviously printing and so forth, saves time, should save time, minimize risk, very important with data, provide document version control, and more importantly, have a single source of the truth. I think a lot of us have dealt with situations where we were dealing with a document where quite a few people need to collaborate. And we go, so Yanni worked on it. He's done version 1, moves on to PT. PT does something, and we don't know whether, and later we don't know which is the right version of the truth. And also in the current environment should enable efficient mobile and remote work. I know a lot of us are working from home, and we've got people working in the field. Content should be able to find it easily after you've scanned it in or it's been uploaded into the ECM system. And then more importantly as well, ensure document security and integrity. All right. So the next slide, can talk quickly about process automation opportunities. There is, I just listed a couple here quickly. But this is, if you just sort of imagine in your environment, and if you get a sense of what an ECM system can do, and I'll explain that when we go through one of these processes, you can basically, in JDE Edwards, with the use of Orchestrator as well and the integration APIs and AIS within an ECM system, you can basically just about automate or streamline any process using an ECM system with your ERP. The first one is accounts payable invoice batching. A lot of our customers and people in the JDE Edwards community have done that using various tools, and a lot of people are working to that. Other one is purchase order acknowledgement, where you might send a purchase order to a supplier, and he can just mail you back and say, right, cool, I've received the purchase order, and then update your system and moves the status of the order on, and everybody knows what's going on with that order. Next one is sales order creation, also quite simple. In quite a few instances, we have tally sales people where the guys basically just place an order, 20 cases of this or 50 cases of that. You've got hands on the keyboards, people capturing that. If there's not a lot of negotiation that needs to happen, this is a process that can be easily automated as well. Mail the invoice or the sales order through, ECM recognizes it, kicks off the process in JDE Edwards, and whoops, there is a sales order that's been created. And with all of abilities of the latest tools within JDE Edwards to send out notifications and so forth, email off to or a notification to the salespeople, order XYZ has been created for customer, blah, blah, blah. You've got sales order invoice distribution and expense claim creation. That's just a couple. I've got the last bullet, the etc. That etc can actually carry on until kingdom come almost. There's so many processes you can probably integrate using a proper ECM system integrated into your ERP. All right, so the next slide is, sorry, it's slightly difficult to read. I'll try and run through it. Basically, this is a process for a ECM system and how that works, but I think in a better part, it should sort of be kind of the same for most of them. I don't know if you guys can see my mouse here, my cursor. So the first step is obviously the input of the document. Scan it in, mail it in. uploaded via mobile device. That's the first thing. So obviously it's then very important that your ECM system does allow for multiple methods of upload. The next thing, important step is then for your tool, your engine to recognize a document for what it is. Is it a sales order? Is it a expense claim? Is it a purchase order? Is it something? So that will happen within your, in this case, intelligent data capture tool. That will then integrate into the ECM, and part of that, then the ECM system will now recognize, all right, well, yes, I've got an invoice here, invoice for X, Y, and Z. What should I do with it? So those rules should be configured with all the workflow within the ECM system. Then we'll go and so right, in this case, we're looking at a three-way match for invoice. ECM will run through, right, go integrate into the ERP, see is there a purchase order for it, has the receipts been done, then analyze it, so right, either are there exceptions? Nope. If there are exceptions based on the rules you built in, route it to the correct people to resolve, so that can be actioned. We can also, like I said, we should have approvals if need be, so you can build in approvals. After everything's been resolved and no more issues exist, approve it, send it through for processing, and it goes into ERP, and your invoice is done. Now, I know previously what we did on previous forums, from we managed to streamline or what we showed there with automation of processes, basically from a purchase requisition right through to sales, to the invoice matching in a couple of seconds. That's something that normally would take a couple of people, maybe an hour or two to process if they need to. I think if you add on this little step, how much easier that will be with the ECM to match these documents. What are the other processes that you can obviously automate and get some hands off a keyboard is sales order process automation. Simply, once again, we have our input. So a customer mails the invoice or an order through, or the detail through to a email address or something, or you scan it, various input methods. Once again, system goes and says, right, cool, I recognize this as a sales order. ECM system does a validation. If there's any exceptions, or if it routes it to the correct person. If not, then that order is created in your ERP system. So yeah, I think you can all sort of, you just try and picture this. There is a lot of opportunity for you guys with a proper ECM system to, automate a lot of processes and take fingers off the keyboard. And also the big thing about this is if that document is now scanned in and it's within the ECM system, good ones will be able to go store it in the correct place. Good systems will be able to say, right, here is a group of documents that pertain to a specific type of transaction. Like if you look at maybe an import or export scenario where there's various bills of ladings and clearance documents and so forth. Good systems will recognize that all the documents related to that transaction and save it for you and route it, it's classified and save it where it needs to be in what they call packages. Alrighty, so I guess we did a bit of research. So we went out and this is only a couple of those. This is something we found on software reviews. It's Infotech. I'm sure Oracle and Gartner, all these guys have done similar things. These are some of the leaders that always sort of come up within it. When we do the Google searches for content management. So we've got our Oracle's product, the content and experience cloud, SharePoint, OnBase Island, all those, and we go up here, FileBound, Box ECM, and Epicor ECM. Right, so these are just a couple of the sort of, so I say the usual suspects that pop up. There are hundreds more for you guys to do, but if you're based on the sort of leaders, these are the ones. Obviously, we'll leave it up to you guys to go do a bit of further research on your own. All right, so that was me in a nutshell. Thank you very much. Is there any questions we want to? And now, do you want to save it until the end? All right, awesome. Thank you very much, guys. I'm going to hand over to Conrad now. Like Deirdre mentioned, we're dealing with quite a few various aspects integration into the ERP. Conrad's going to take us through sort of other options other than a BBCS. If I've got that sequence of that acronym correct for Oracle. So Conrad, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Rian, I'm getting echo from you.
All right, I'm going to mute quickly.
Yeah, I also, is it possible for me to share my screen? Okay, I've got my screen, thank you. So today I want to talk about mobility solutions for JDE Edwards Enterprise One. And it's very important to note that regardless of what third-party integration you're looking at, whether it's inside Oracle or outside, nowadays it's all enabled by AIS, which is basically RESTful API calls. RESTful API calls is calls that use web protocols. It's easy to use and it's easy to understand. Okay, I'm hearing somebody on the background there. If you can all just mute your speakers. And then Oracle has also provided us with orchestrations and orchestration studios. Orchestration studio. This is very important when we talk about integration with JDE Edwards, because you want to keep your business logic inside your business application, which is JDE Edwards. So that's why orchestrations is so important when you look at integrating with JDE Edwards, and why you should be using orchestrations. And before I go into mobility, just one last sentence about integrations. If you are currently using business services, I would recommend you consider moving your SOAP WS protocol away, moving away from the SOAP WS protocol used by business services and start using RESTful APIs. You will find that JDE's AIS is far faster, and it allows you to code business logic via orchestrations. So let's dive into mobility apps, or the options available with mobility solutions out there. And there's a lot of them. So I'm putting down a big disclaimer here that I'm not going to discuss the individual mobility solutions out there. There are so many of them, and they are so diverse that this conversation will take a couple of hours just to really delve into all the different solutions and options out there. Just know that mobility is a very diverse and complex technology. And, so to help you on this journey to evaluate the mobility solutions that you could potentially use with JDE Edwards, I'm going to present you with a few questions. And these questions you can then use to evaluate all the options out there and hopefully come to a decision of what mobility solution will work for your business requirement. So the first question is obviously, does the specific solution fit my business requirement? And with mobility solutions, this is a very complex question, because the nature of mobility is really about customizing the experience. So it's very rare that you will find a specific solution that's going to exactly match your requirement. And that leads to the second question: is it customizable? In case you need to adapt it, you need some form of customization on it, and how you customize it is very important. Which leads me to the next question, or sort of a statement I want to make here, is that where do I want to maintain my business logic? So there's two types of logic with an app like this, or a solution like this. There's interface logic and there's business logic. And as I've already discussed on the first slide, I strongly urge you to use Orchestrator Studio and orchestrations for business logic. Don't insert business logic into your interface or on a third-party app where you now have two platforms that you have to maintain. That's why Orchestration Studio was created. It was there to make sure that you can have your business logic on the JDE Edwards ecosystem, where you've got multiple environments and you've got a change cycle from development PY to production, to test your business logic, you know, and to also make things future-proof, you know, which leads me to the next question. So obviously, you know, to keep us a diverse technology / solution like this future-proof, it's a little bit more complex, because we all know that on JDE, we you know, the approach to keep code current is critical, and there's many solutions and options and strategies from Oracle. I don't know if you guys are aware of just how Oracle is focusing on keeping JDE Edwards code current. And the same needs to happen with any solution that you tie into JDE Edwards. It needs to keep up with JDE Edwards. And on mobility, this is quite a bit more complex. So covering the next question of how users will connect. So obviously, mobility is about not plugging into a cable, but being able to work wireless. So on various types of devices. So these devices could be a mobile phone, a smartphone, it could be a tablet interface, it could be a scanner interface. So there's different kinds of devices that mobility covers. And also the connectivity, will it be users on the road connecting from the internet, or will it be users on your network just connecting to your Wi-Fi network? And then there's also the capability of offline processing. So does this mobility solution need to be able to work without being connected to any network at all? So leading on to the next question about where will you host the app? So obviously these mobility solutions are very diverse, and some of them are cloud solutions. Some of them you can deploy on premise. Some of them can run on a device, or there's hybrid options. So when you ask yourself this question, so when you look at any solution and you start asking these questions, pretty soon you will have the solution categorized so that you can make educated decisions about, whether the solution will be feasible for you. The next question: how will the app connect to my ERP? Obviously, if it's a cloud solution, then there will have to be some sort of connectivity. If it's on-prem, it's probably a little bit easier. But that leads to sort of the final question, which is, how will I secure the solution? And this goes into sort of two aspects. One is security, because now you've opened your business application to a new way of connecting to it, and you need to make sure that opening is secure and that it's only used for its intended purposes. And also, you need to also consider, the performance of your business application. You need to protect the performance of your ERP. You certainly don't want to overload it. So now that we've got the questions, let's look at the types of mobility solutions. And again, I'm talking very high level there. Mobility solutions are really complex, and some of them are a combination of multiple things. But on a high level, when you look at the type of mobile apps, you have your traditional native mobile app. So a native mobile app is your apps that you can download from your store, whether it's the Apple Store or the Play Store. And these apps are very advanced when it comes to using the features of the latest phones. But you would notice that some of the older native apps stop working, So on the other side of things, you get web apps. So you could very easily create a web app and access it from your browser interface from your mobile device, and you have a very simple, easy to deploy web app that runs on a mobile. But it might lack some of the smartphone features, and there will certainly not be offline capability. So there's also a combination of the above. you know, where you have the best of both worlds. And this is also where you know, a lot of the more recent mobile technologies have evolved into. One of the things that you might have heard is PWA. So PWA stands for Progressive Web App. It is built using web technologies like HTML, cascading style sheets, JavaScript, but it looks and feels like a native application. So this is sort of the bright future of what's out there. It doesn't require you know, you to install it from an app store. It can run offline. It's fast, efficient, and it is secure. It uses secure communication. Now, these kind of progressive web apps you can create from a lot of solutions. Oracle's Visual the Cloud service can do them, and a lot of the JavaScript frameworks that are out there can also create progressive web apps for you. Just an example of progressive web apps that you might be using already, Twitter and Uber. I mean, two of the most popular things today out there uses progressive web apps. So these things run on your browser or on your phone, and they just look marvelous. So let's talk about the solutions. And while I'm not going to cover all the solutions in detail, while I'm sort of talking about these solutions, you can look at the questions or think about the questions that are asked, and you can start, you know, trying to place these solutions in those categories to know what your challenges are or whether a solution is suitable for your business requirement. So the first option is to use standard mobility capabilities. So obviously with a tablet or an iPad, you can connect to JDE and you can use the full web experience. For Apple iPad, Oracle has a iPad client. This is a fully functional web browser interface. So when you look at the support for the web, Oracle supports Chrome, Safari, Firefox, Edge, and the Apple iPad, which is seen as a browser interface. It runs on the Apple iPad, so you've got wireless connection, but it won't run on your iPhone. It needs the full tablet interface, and there's no offline capability. So next, when we talk about pre-built mobile apps, there's a lot of them out there. Disclaimer here, I can't cover all of them. I can tell you that Oracle has got a progressive mobile app for the PO approval that they released with, you know, if you go on Learn JDE, you'll find the details. You can download this app and you can deploy it onto Tomcat or WebLogic, and you can run it. You know, so there's an app out there that Oracle developed. They haven't developed any other apps for us yet. Who knows what's coming, what's not coming? But there's also a lot of third-party solutions out there that will give you pre-built apps. Swift eFlux have quite a nice selection. Redfaire has produced some DCI AppShare. There's a lot of them out there, and I'm not going to cover them all, but you know, all I'm going to say is that you know, the reason we're looking at all these mobility solutions is because obviously the JDE legacy mobile apps that Oracle developed with their mobile app framework, those are end of life. You could still get, if you were a license for them, you can still download the source code and you can still maintain them, but they're native apps and it's going to be hard to maintain them. And you know, again, remember the questions to ask yourself when you evaluate these different solutions. So then I briefly want to talk about building your own app, and there's two options here, and this option I would say would address probably 95% of your requirements for a mobility solution. You can cover with the low/no code solutions. So with low no code solutions, you can create mobility solutions without having to be a mobile app developer, because these toolkits will allow you as a business analyst to create apps. So just a disclaimer here, if you are going to do this, make sure your business logic is in one place. JDE, in other words, JDE orchestrations. So don't develop your apps with business logic all over the place. But with Oracle Visual Builder Cloud Service or with Swift eFlux, you can basically do this. Oracle Visual Builder Cloud Service, you can spin up the instance in the cloud and it can connect to your ERP on-prem or if you have wherever it is. Swift eFlux, you have the option to run Swift eFlux either on the cloud or you can run it on premise. And again, you can create mobility apps. These type of mobility apps will probably address 95% of what your requirement is. But let's say you want to do something a little bit more advanced, then my recommendation would be to build a non-native app, and you can use all the wonderful frameworks and things out there. There's React Native from Facebook. It's popular, it's fast, it's really cool. If you're a Microsoft person, you can use Xamarin and use C#. Google has got two of them. Angular is the one that is a big competitor for React Native, but there's also a new one, Flutter from Google. Oracle Jet can be used. You can create web apps, or you can use Oracle IDF with Jet. So there's a lot of options for you out there to use these frameworks without having to look at the last option, which I'm just briefly going to mention, and that is build your own native app. So if you're going to write a banking app, yes, most definitely do a native app. But I honestly believe that non-native apps is the future. They're future-proof. They're not tied to a specific mobile device OS, and the capabilities are out there now. So I'm going to just hop over native apps. This is the past, and this is where Oracle's legacy mobile apps are sitting. There are certain use cases where you would use this, but for 99.9% of our requirement, I think we would never develop native apps. So in closing off, I'm just going to leave you with the questions that I started with. And hopefully these questions, when you look at the mobility solutions out there, these questions will help you down the path of choosing the correct solution for you. So on that note, I'm going to hand back to Rian, or I think it's Warren.
Thank you, Conrad. Yeah, thank you very much for that. Next is Warren. He will be chatting to us about BI reports and so forth. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Perfectly. Thanks, Warren.
Great. I'll be talking about BI reporting. Briefly, what I'll be discussing is what is BI reporting? Why do you need BI reporting platform? We're just going to look at some benefits and features of a BI solution, as well as a few best practices for BI. Report creation, as well as choosing the right BI platform or tool. So what is BI reporting? Choosing the right tool can significantly impact your organization. Companies that are not successful often do not present their desired management information effectively and often use MS Excel as their BI tool, which is why it's known as the most commonly abused BI tool. BI reporting software is used to creating and distributing valuable information and insights to your employees. So you will be able to manage and control your business processes and the outcomes in a more effective way. This type of software is often an important component of a mature business intelligence platform. The main objective is to improve the company's performance by creating and using intelligence and insights. With the right information at hand, employees and managers are able to see how things are going and are able to make better decisions. So in a nutshell, BI reporting is preparing, analyzing, and rendering business metrics. And this is key and fundamental to every business. BI platforms should consist of several business BI applications, like business performance management, OLAP, online analytical processing, which gives you the ability to slice and dice information. Some reporting tools in there, predictive analysis, data mining, and data analytics, as an example. BI reporting, BI reporting can be divided into two categories. Managed reporting. This occurs when a technical employee, such as an IT associate and or a data analyst, prepares the data for a non-technical user. Secondly, ad hoc reporting in a BI platform allows non-technical users to create reports from scratch and edit pre-existing reports without having to make requests from IT. These reports allow business users to see data trends over time, slice and dice tables and information to discover relationships between dimensions and data selection variables. Reports can take on various formats. Spreadsheets, Words, and PDF are common outputs. Visualizations can include charts, graphs, histograms. Reports can be customized dashboards accessed through a web browser, for instance. With current technologies, BI reports can be automated, distributed, and it can run on a predetermined schedule. So why do you need a BI reporting platform? To succeed in the fast-moving world of business, today's organization must be data-driven and promote a data-driven culture. So to do this, leaders need a modern business intelligence platform that helps everyone to see and understand their data. Business intelligence platforms are more than business analytics software packages. They support your organization's BI strategy by making it easier to access and analyze your data. Simple analytics platforms are just importing and cleaning, analyzing, and forecasting data is out there. But a proper BI platform are more robust and dynamic and can adapt to your and grow with your BI strategy. Just some examples of how a BI platform can be applied within your organization is if you want to visualize your supply and demand changes over time, for instance. If you want to view your forecasts, sales and profits, you want to visualize your sales and inventory in a near real-time function. If you want to see embedded dashboards into a custom solution for internal or external use. Here are just some of the benefits and features of a BI solution. So there are several benefits in using a BI platform in your company. For instance, your non-technical users, as I mentioned earlier, can create their own reports by using self-service BI tools. BI tools can make it easier for employees to use data, and again, the detailed understanding of the more important business metrics within your organization. Teams can use reporting data to make better decisions and share the data with others. Leadership, management can use BI data to support their decisions. BI reports also help companies to see the bigger picture by aggregating data from multiple departments and allowing users to interact with the data. All of this can be accomplished in less time because big data reporting tools are designed to cut down on time spending analyzing data for reporting. BI platforms can also publish reports on an automated schedule, as I mentioned earlier, customized according to security permissions. Not every BI platform can perform some of these functions. However, you should evaluate the BI tool according to your own needs. Just some of the features that you need to look out for when looking at a BI solution. It must have some plug-and-play functionality. The right platform fits within your existing data infrastructure and works with your security and governance environment without additional infrastructure. Look at an intuitive user experience. Non-analysts should be able to easily query and produce the answers they are looking for. It must have customizable dashboards. Platforms allow all users to create visual-driven insights at a glance. And it must be scalable. As your business grows, the platform must be flexible enough to do that. Some best practices to consider when you create BI reporting. So every company needs effective BI reporting so that employees can see what is going on at a glance and that they are able to thoroughly analyze the underlying data. Reporting can be done directly on operational systems like your JDE, ERP, CRM, HCM systems, or any data warehouse that you may have. Ideally, reporting should be part of your BI platform so that you should consider using BI tools to do the reporting. These reporting tools have a lot of functionality within a BI platform. And it comes built in and are able to get much more out of your data than plain reporting tools. While BI reporting will be specific to your company's needs, there are some noted best practices as well in creating intelligent reporting. The key in reporting is to present your information to the business user that is information that is reliable, that is correct, and that is trustworthy. So therefore ensure that you have data quality procedures in place that exist to clean up the data. Ensure that you have clear definitions of measurements and dimensions within your BI platform. And you need to validate them against both your business people, your different data sources, and your industry naming conventions. Also, keep this in mind when you do your reporting, is to choose the correct audience for the reports and work with IT to set up the correct permissions. Prepare the report with analysis in mind. How can this report be easily understood? Before writing the report, first find out what your users want to see in their report and which KPIs drive your business or the business area you want to measure. Learn to create effective data visualizations. Present the data in a way that will allow your users to interpret the data easily so that they exactly understand what is in the report. Visualize the information as well as you can by using standard layouts for your reports. Present the information in a meaningful way using colors, for instance, and create some interactivity in your reports, like drill down and slice and dice capabilities. Be willing also to adapt your BI reporting processes to advances in technologies and changes in the business needs. So keep your reporting and present your data and make your data to be relevant and the report to be relevant and current. You can drive change in your organization with business intelligence. Also, from a research carried out at hundreds of organizations, it is clear that role-based reporting and dashboarding can be a highly effective means of achieving BI success. By personalizing the report, analysis and dashboards based on the roles the person has in the organization, you can ensure that initially they only see the information that is highly relevant. Some tools are better than others and make it possible to define roles within BI systems and then link directly to information and data elements, extracting only information that is relevant to the role. Also, omit information that is out of scope. Might be risky when you actually develop the report because you are not always certain of what your users want to know. However, a BI system and dashboard that isn't role-based present a lot of information that is not relevant to a particular user, causing information overload. And that is exactly what we don't want to achieve with a BI solution. Users still have to search for the information instead of having it simply presented to them. So my advice is keep it simple. So evaluating a modern BI reporting tool, to choose a BI reporting tool isn't easy because there are so many of them on the market. There are big brands like Microsoft, Cognos, Business Objects. There are also smaller software developers who have also developed BI tools suitable for specific industries or type of BI applications. The saying goes, different tools for different purposes for a reason. Despite the wealth of choice, finding and choosing the right business intelligence tool often proves to be a daunting and labor-intensive task. And if not guided, can become a nightmare. There are more than over 200 BI software vendors out there. I've just chosen a few here. Tableau, for instance, is a textbook example of a self-service BI solution. Tableau was recently acquired by Salesforce for 15.7 billion US dollars in stocks. A strong vote of confidence for the CRM giant. Tableau is not a complete standalone BI solution yet. When we look, let's look at Power BI. Microsoft BI often offers a wide range of BI solutions. They are, of course, known for Excel, the most abused BI tool. Power BI integrates seamlessly with its Office family of products. It's relatively inexpensive, but not yet mature enough to function as a standalone BI solution. Microsoft is iterating the product on a regular basis, however. They're often both on-premise and Azure cloud solutions. ClickView is one of the more user-friendly BI solutions, thanks to its set-based and visual approach. It's been a household name when it comes to data discovery tools. However, it doesn't have extensive reporting capabilities. GoHubble from Insight Software, which is a JDE Enterprise Ready platform. Although widely used by South African JDE customers, it is not well supported in South Africa anymore. However, we at ResolveRed do have the skills to support the product. Business Objects is one of the many BI solutions offered by SAP, who bought Business Objects in 2007. If your organization is a SAP house, then Business Objects is the go-to solution when it comes to business intelligence. As a standalone BI solution, Business Objects is much less likely to qualify because Business Objects prominently opts for the SAP ERP data model. Cognos has historically been one of the better-known business intelligence products, but it's not as robust as it once was. It's especially well known for its power play cubes, a feature which makes the tools very user-friendly. Since 2008, Cognos has been owned by IBM. MicroStrategy is known for performing well in environments with large volumes of big data. It can be a relatively expensive solution, however, but it scores well among its users. OBIEE stands for Oracle Business Intelligence Enterprise Edition. Oracle acquired applications such as Siebel, Hyperion, PeopleSoft, and JD Edwards, however, not an enterprise-ready solution for JD Edwards, which have been integrated to OBIEE. Oracle Hyperion is covered by OBIEE, but Oracle Hyperion suite focuses on the enterprise performance management market and is much less on the BI market. Hyperion can work as a standalone product or in conjunction with other Oracle products. Reports Now is a JDE enterprise platform, and we at Resolve reviewed a few BI solutions, and I found that in terms of functionality, ease of use and deployment, as well as total cost of ownership, Reports Now stood out for us. There are about 6 original JDE software developers currently in Reports Now's employ. They used to work for JD Edwards and developed JD Edwards and Oracle in Denver. Thus, they have a very good understanding of JD Edwards and the ERP integrations and database and relationships, etc. Reports Now also partnered with Q Software, where you are now able to get predefined audit security reporting. So yeah, in closing, some considerations for evaluating a modern BI platform. Ensure that it has dynamic dashboards. One of the most popular features of BI platform is to create and customize these dashboards. People can create modules, graph charts, and can update it in near real-time mode. Dashboards can also be published on a separate internal platform. You should choose a platform that offers self-service capabilities. Not everyone can access the data, create their own analysis, and help your organization build so that everyone can actually have access to the data, create their own analysis, and help your organization build a culture of analytics. It must have an intuitive visual analytics, allowing you to visually explore your data, offer visual insights as you go. Your platform should also enable you to share your findings by creating powerful visualizations. And remember, our brain works in visuals. It doesn't understand words. So visualizations is very important if you want to see something. Then look at a tool that have the power to accelerate your BI strategy. Even the most powerful BI reporting platforms is useless if it can't easily connect to your data. The right analytic platform offers optimized native connection to your data, no matter where it lives, so you can get to your analysis faster. Your platform should allow you to access and analyze your data live without needing to download it. You should have the ability to query your databases quickly with little or no coding effort on your part. Your BI platform should also give you the choice to deploy your analytics wherever you want, in the cloud, on your local server, or hosted off-site. The platform should integrate seamlessly with your existing data strategy instead of forcing you to change or buy additional products, disrupting your current data infrastructure. You should also embed easily. It should also embed easily in your company portals and other enterprise applications, so you can meet your users where they are. BI tools that are not flexible will add to the total cost of ownership. And ensure that there's no surprises in your total cost of ownership. Many organizations, especially smaller ones, turn to open source software to suit their data mining and ad hoc reporting needs. However, when evaluating a platform, consider the total cost of ownership. Don't simply base your decision on the price tag. Conduct a full comparison, add in all the other extra components that you'd need to make the free platform work in your enterprise environment, both now and in the future. Free tools are anything but free, and can add up to a big total cost. They often require more products, people, infrastructure to meet the enterprise grade requirements. Then empower your users while keeping their data source. The right platform for your organization should enable everyone, regardless of their skill level, to have conversations with their data and leverage insights, thus making data central to everyone's business decisions. So become a data-driven organization. And in order to empower the entire organization, you need an analytics tool that the business loves and IT trusts. The right BI software empowers your organization to take on IT-enabled, business-led approach to analytics. To enable IT to establish a secure and governed environment to protect the data, and to ensure its integrity without compromising business agility and innovation. So making the right choice. To make the right choice, identify how your data is used within your organization. Ask questions about who, what, why, and how information is utilized and distributed. Whether it's used for reporting purposes, for collaboration with other stakeholders, or to monitor KPIs. How will you use the information? How will the data be leveraged? Will it be used to drive more meaningful and informed decisions? Start with the need of your business rather than the product's capabilities, because some of the features offered may not be of use to your company. Evaluate the different options. Perform evaluations for the top contenders of the BI vendors that you're looking at, and test them with your organization's data to determine on how well the BI tool performs in practice. For example, test how easy the BI tool is to be used in and whether it can be adapted across different devices and different platforms, and how much time it takes to build and run reports, for instance. Review the analytical, reporting and visualization capabilities, and how they are used, and how to share this information. The BI tool that you choose should come with basic features such as drop-down menus, sort, filter, search functions, and enable users to quickly and easily find information. Consider the pros and cons of each BI tool and how well they will serve your specific needs in your business. So choose a trusted vendor, a BI vendor. And by asking questions like, has the software vendor invested years of research and development into their platform? Does Does its history indicate that the company will continue to innovate the product? Does it prioritize the user experience and help customers to drive that adoption? And choose an innovative platform. BI platform should adapt to the current technologies and the innovation of its users. Choose a platform that can easily scale to as your company grows, and the right platform for your organization must be flexible. It must be easy to use and should help you reach your business goals. Thank you. With that, I'll give back to Deirdre.
Thank you, Warren.
Thank you, Warren. Yes, thank you very much. So we're going to hand over now to Darren Lever. So I'm going to ask Rian just to quickly share his screen just to get the logistics right. Darren, of course, is not local. So let's just see, you can see that. Okay, Darren, thank you very much. Darren will introduce Redfaire.
Hi, thanks, Deirdre. Can I just check, can everyone hear me okay?
What have you actually?
Perfect, I see lots of thumbs up, that's good news. So, thank you everyone for the chance to introduce us to you today. Some of you may be familiar with Redfaire International, some of you may not. Redfaire International is a global partner focused on JD Edwards and JD Edwards supporting Oracle technologies, so Oracle Cloud infrastructure, supporting SaaS modules from the Fusion, Cloud ERP suite. And we also have an analytics focus on both Tableau and our Analytics Cloud, so some of those BI tools that Warren was taking you through earlier. So it's good to meet you all. I'm trying to move the slides and just realised it's not my presentation, so could you just move to the next slide for me, please? Down one more. Great, thank you. So Redfaire International is a group made up of partners from around the globe. I think we represent direct presence in around 23 countries now. We're happy to be announcing that Resolve Red will be joining that network in short order, which gives us then the direct presence and delivery capacity in South Africa. That gives us around 17 languages, so our sweet spot really has been able to take a global approach to your international projects if you're rolling out to multiple sites around the world, but then being able to deliver in your team's local language and culture, so removing those risk and complexity from your projects, dealing with those different regions. We bring together a holistic approach to JD Edwards, so the traditional consultancy services around upgrades, rollouts, migrations, etc. Managed services and hosting, so we do have customers running on all three of the major cloud providers, but we do champion Oracle Cloud infrastructure. We firmly believe there is some benefits both commercially and technically that Christian, my CTO, will walk you through shortly. But more than that, we've reinvested in JD Edwards as a product set over a number of years and created a range of enhancements and add-ons, again focusing around some of those processes that we looked at in the first presentation. So accounts payable automation, BI analytics, as we've said, archiving. So many of you will be familiar with ARC tools from the IBM days. Redfaire International, Redfaire Limited, one of the founding partners of Redfaire International, actually developed and own a product called Dataware, which is effectively the ARC tools option for SQL or Oracle databases. So could you move slides, please? Thanks. So some of the core reasons that we find or that get fed back to us from our customers. So as I mentioned, the presence that we have in direct countries around the world, meaning that we're not trying to deliver projects remotely, we're delivering them on the ground for our customers. We have just over 650 global resources, which gives us possibly the largest dedicated JDE Edwards resource pool of any partner out there. So that brings with it 20 to 30 years of average experience. A number of our resources actually worked for JDE Edwards back in the early 90s. So that then imbibes all the experience and knowledge into our customers' projects, again reducing their risk and complexity, and bringing a faster pace problem solving. Our relationship with the Oracle Denver team for JDE Edwards is second to none. We sit on steering committees with them. We have direct feedback into the JDE Edwards roadmap, and it means our customers then benefit from direct access communication through us to them for looking for bug fixes, looking for product roadmap updates, etc., allowing them to make more informed decisions. If we can move to the next slide, please. So just to reinforce message around our global presence, you'll see a breakdown of our resources by region. Just to give you an example, we've got a company that's looking to roll out to 42 different regions globally, headquartered in EMEA, and we were selected to deliver that project for them because of the breadth of in-region knowledge, allowing smoother dealing with things like localizations and regulatory requirements, etc. So for any of you that are considering projects that affect regions outside of South Africa, or are looking to take benefits from cloud infrastructure within South Africa, then we're very well placed to be able to assist you. Next slide. The managed service. So yeah, so we don't just focus on the delivery side of JDE Edwards. We back that up and provide a fully managed services offering for that. I would say the majority of companies that run projects with us then develop into managed services customer, either at the application or technical level, or both. I think we've got about 92 customers currently running on our service, ranging from some of the biggest JDE Edwards users, the likes of Circle K and Avon, down to more localized niche businesses like DX Logistics, who are a UK-focused logistics company. Our managed services are fully SLA backed. The SLAs are tied to monetary credits, and not just support credits in the way you may have experienced with Oracle directly, but actually monetary return to you. And as I said at the beginning of my slides, we've tied those directly to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So we are a certified cloud service provider for Oracle, which means we're able to run our own environments within the Oracle Cloud, which then gives us full access to being able to manage the environments end to end for our customers. Of the 200 or so of JDE Edwards customers in cloud, about 30% of those are Redfaire International managed services customers. So we really are seeing a great deal of success, and with that comes a great deal of expertise and stability for our customer base. Next slide, please. So again, at the beginning, I mentioned some of the enhancements and investments we've made into building extensions and improvements for JDE Edwards. I won't go through these in detail, but if there's anything here that you're looking to focus on, then we're happy to take a call outside of this to provide you some more detail. I think after that, I'm handing over to Christian, who's the Redfaire International CTO, and will give you a deeper dive into Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Are you there, Christian?
Thank you, Darren. Can everyone hear me? I'm going to assume everyone can hear me. I'm very conscious of time. We're running a bit late, so I'm going to go
Apologies.
quite fast.
Thank you, Christian. Yeah, we can hear you perfectly. Thank you very
Perfect.
much.
Thank you.
We are, apologies, we are overrunning a little bit. I think we're going to overrun by about 10 minutes. The session is being recorded, so if you have another meeting that you need to go to, please accept our apologies, and we will send out the recording or make available the recording also. Over to you, Christian.
Okay. Thank you very much. So my name is Christian Bronteris. As Darren said, I'm the CTO for Redfaire and Redfaire International. So focused really in managed services and cloud deployments. This presentation is one I gave in the Nordics just last week to the Nordics User Group Conference. It's a little bit James Bond themed for a little bit of fun. That's about as close a connection to James Bond as I actually get. But let's go through it. So next slide, please. Ooh. Sharing has stopped. Sorry, Deirdre, is it possible to... there we go. Thank you very much. Perfect. Fine. So I talk to CIOs constantly in my job. And one of the things that I can say today is different to what it was 5 years ago is that our IT assets are now are under constant attack. We're probably all aware of Log4j vulnerabilities. We're all aware of the constant need and the greater importance there is on patching and vulnerability testing. So both our applications are at risk and our infrastructure is at risk. Processes in businesses today are so tightly integrated that any downtime is very costly. Many businesses I talk to today have service level agreements in place with their customers. So if they fail to deliver a product in time, there's penalties. So systems have to be so much more robust and high availability than they were maybe again by even as little as 2 years ago. There's a constant change of technology happening. Technology used to come across in waves every maybe 3 to 5 years, a technology change. What we're seeing now is technologies changing almost constantly. It's difficult to keep up. Oracle themselves, the JD Edwards team out of Denver, are now publishing tools releases every quarter. And ESUs every day. So the landscape has really changed considerably. When we have our infrastructure, we've probably been sweating it for some years, and it's in need of a refresh, and it's now preventing us from being able to do new things, preventing us from helping the business. That infrastructure as an encumbrance really has led to businesses starting to look at cloud applications as fast ways to go to market with new solutions. So how do we get out of that data center business? And the skills to run and manage something like JD Edwards are not only difficult to find, they are not only difficult to train, but the skill set required to run and administer a JD Edwards solution today is much more broad than it was at any time. Now we talk about AIS, we talk about REST-based service calls, we talk about we may still have BSSV, we've got the enterprise servers, we've got we've got native database drives. We've got a lot more technology now than we ever had within a JD Edwards solution. So let's look at why JD Edwards customers are moving to the cloud. If we can go to the next slide, please. So the number one reasons, and you can just cycle through these, companies often think they're going to be maybe left behind if they don't move to cloud. They've probably heard that other people are moving to cloud. Just back one slide there. Many companies I talk to today have a cloud-first strategy. So when they're spending money in IT, the question that has to be asked first and answered first is, have we looked at a cloud application or a cloud technology to deliver this in preference to spending capital? I talked about resources a moment ago, and yes, it is becoming increasingly difficult to keep and retain resources, but also some of those resources are just, retraining or moving on, being given the gold watch. So the resource pool globally is becoming smaller. Some customers feel that disaster recovery is built into the cloud, and maybe disaster recovery is something that they haven't really cracked on their on-prem environment. Another driver for cloud is simply the fact that a customer's maybe has been running on their infrastructure for many years. Maybe it's running on old operating systems, Windows 2012 R2 or earlier, for example, and what we want to do is be able to refresh all that hardware, but that's going to cost an awful lot of money. Maybe there's a quicker, more OPEX-friendly way of doing it. So by throwing the systems into the cloud, and maybe the management of those systems, maybe you're actually moving out of the IT business and actually making it somebody else's responsibility to deliver the service. And surely cloud is cheaper than building systems on premise. Next slide, please. So when we move customers to the cloud, we take them on one of three journeys. On the very left-hand side, we see the lowest cost and the fastest to do. We call that a lift and shift. And it's not actually my preference for a cloud migration, but it is a possible cloud migration. So this is taking your workloads that are on-premise, workloads being your JD Edwards servers and maybe associated workloads, and re-platforming them onto the cloud, basically to deliver the same solution but cloud hosted. Lift and shift. If you've got a mess on-premise, you'll have a mess in the cloud. So it doesn't necessarily address any of the technology issues, and that's why we prefer that hybrid model that you see there in the middle, which again is slightly more expensive to do and takes a little bit longer. But what we're doing is we're often maybe upgrading the tools release, moving you to Oracle 19c, for example, as a database, or onto a database cloud service technology. We're addressing old operating systems. So maybe we've got a Windows 2012 deployment server and we want to move that up into a Windows 2019 deployment server. So that addresses the technology issues that are going to help us make sure that you're not vulnerable, that your systems can be patched regularly, and that you can take advantage of the newest tools and features of the tools release within the application. On the very right-hand side, we have the transformational approach, which is absolutely valid and adopted by some companies, which is where maybe they're moving from a very old release of JD Edwards and they want to go through a kind of a re-implementation of JD Edwards. Maybe they're implementing JD Edwards for the first time. When we took Adnams, the brewery and wine and spirit company, to cloud, they had never used JD Edwards before and they went straight to cloud. They implemented JD Edwards on cloud because they didn't want to build the skills internally to try to manage and deliver that solution, and they didn't really want to invest in the infrastructure, knowing that that was, again, not their business. Their business is brewing beer. Next slide, please. So Oracle if you think about Oracle as a JD Edwards technology, we've talked about digital transformation, ERP optimization, and all that simplify and automate with orchestration. What the cloud provides you, what Oracle's cloud provides you, and this is not just generic, this is unique to JD Edwards, is the ability to be able to enhance JD Edwards with cloud infrastructure and cloud applications. So on the cloud applications side, for example, the top section you see there, we've got a customer called Ipsos. Ipsos is the global market research company who have augmented their JD Edwards application with cloud HCM, so their human resource management solution delivered out of a cloud application integrated into JD Edwards. And if we look at the bottom section there, we talk about how the JD Edwards application is able to benefit from using the underlying infrastructure. So for example, with release 22 of JD Edwards, the latest tools release, we have certification with autonomous database, with ATP, moving us to the next generation of Oracle databases. The load balancing capabilities within the cloud allow us to be able to automatically direct users to healthy instances of the systems. Sorry, just bear with me 1 second here. So the load balancer allows us to automatically direct users to healthy instances because it can actually check JD Edwards' health of the underlying infrastructure. Next slide, please. So multi-cloud or single cloud. Do I choose my cloud provider and then put all of my applications in that cloud? Or do I say which application should go to which cloud? And this is This is an incredibly important decision. Two years ago, I think CIOs that I was speaking to were saying, well, we use Microsoft Azure, or we think AWS is the best place to home our applications. Today, the world has woken up to actually that not all clouds are equal. An Oracle cloud is far better equipped to run Oracle workloads than it would be, for example, to run a non-Oracle workload. Just as Microsoft Azure is better at running a Microsoft workload than it is to run a non-Oracle workload. So we're moving to a world of multi-cloud where actually we'll let the applications choose which cloud we provide, and the cloud providers, Oracle, Amazon, Azure, Google, as examples, recognize this and therefore are building infrastructure that allows them to cross-connect their clouds and minimize data ingress and egress charges significantly. So we have customers today on Oracle Cloud who for example, also have applications running in Microsoft Azure Cloud, tightly integrated, where the connectivity between those doesn't go across public internet. It's all delivered as if it was within one cloud. Next slide, please. So let's talk about data centers. And next slide, please. We call these regions, and in the case of South Africa, back in January this year, Oracle have opened the data center in Johannesburg. 37 regions in total. That's actually going to climb up to 44 by the end of this year of global data centers. Those global data centers are integrated together so that there's mechanisms to provide good disaster recovery. So my data center in Johannesburg, when I fail, if I have an issue in Johannesburg, I can fail over to maybe my disaster recovery data center, which maybe I've chosen Frankfurt as being the example. But I talked about multi-cloud earlier. There's also options to say, well, actually, maybe I deploy in Johannesburg, but I fail over to another cloud provider. So you have choice here. What the benefit of these regions is that cloud infrastructure is common throughout all of those regions. So anything that I deploy in Johannesburg, I can lift that and place it into say Frankfurt, and in fact, I can automate that process and disaster recovery process. So a highly scalable infrastructure that you don't have to pay for, and that's the beauty of cloud. If I switch the machines off, they're not costing me any money. Maybe the storage that I have is costing me a little bit of money. To give you an example, well, I'll give you some examples shortly. Next slide, please. Within the data centers, and it's worth just understanding this, the data center is divided into what we call fault domains. Each data center has 3 fault domains, shown there as the blue boxes. A fault domain, the best way to think of that is almost like a room in a data center, dedicated room. Nobody has access to that room other than the Oracle engineers. Each of those rooms is fed from a different power source, a different telco provider, a different network infrastructure. So they're fault tolerant. Fault domain 1 and fault domain 2 are independent, even though they sit within the same physical data center. What this means is that when we do maintenance, we do the maintenance at a fault domain level, and because we can get some advance notice of that maintenance, that we can move those resources from, say, fault domain 1 into fault domain 2. What this also means is we want to spread our workloads across those fault domains intelligently to maximize availability. And this is one of the great examples of where Release 22 of JDE Edwards, with the introduction of new technologies coupled with Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, can bring us to a level of high availability within JDE Edwards application that was never there previously. Next slide, please. This demonstrates it. In this example, I can see that I have a load balancer sitting at the top of the screen there. And my load balancer is receiving requests from users to use JDE Edwards. The load balancer is looking at Web 1 and it's looking at Web 2, my 2 web servers, and it sees that they're both healthy. And so it distributes the workload to the user, in this particular case, to one of those machines. Let's say Web 1. That user is on Web 1 and we map that user to operate on Ent 1. So all their logic is being processed on the enterprise server called Ent1. Those users are in a pod, if you like, and actually, if you press the slide, please. If we were to have any issue on that particular pod, Ent1 or Web1, whatever the issue might be. Maybe we've got call object kernels failing on Ent1 and we need to clean it up. We can automatically detect that health, remove that pod from the load balancer, redirect those users to the healthy pod. They will have to log on and log off and log back on again, and continue processing whilst we fix the issue with the unhealthy pod. So by having a pod infrastructure, I now remove the enterprise server or a web server as a single point of failure within my JD Edwards architecture, and that's been made even easier with the Release 22 features with virtual batch queues, where my Ent1 and my Ent2 servers that you see in this picture, 2 enterprise servers, can be paired together. So from a JD Edwards perspective, it's almost as if they are one server. A batch job can run on one of the enterprise servers, but the next time that batch job runs, it might run on the second enterprise server. So by leveraging Oracle Cloud Infrastructure and JD Edwards' latest tools, I've been able to create a high availability platform for my JD Edwards solution. 0 downtime deployment, 0 downtime patching. Next slide, please. So let's take a look at some of the gadgets that are available here. Next slide, please. So another thing which we're seeing is more and more of our customers are deploying JD Edwards directly over the internet. We have a customer called Inspired Education who runs schools all over the world. They have 11 schools in South Africa, for example. Those schools they're not connected to a wide area network. They don't have any clever MPLS networking solution in place. Instead, those schools individually access their JD Edwards applications over the cloud using a zero trust technology. When their users before their users come into the cloud, a web application firewall is now inspecting all the data. It's looking for denial of service attacks. It's blocking users automatically if it suspects that maybe there's SQL packet injection taking place. It's providing all of that kind of border security before the system has even given the user a JD Edwards logon page. Next slide. With Oracle Cloud, we also have Identity Access Management, or IAM, and IAM, like the WAF, these are as free of charge components within Oracle Cloud. A JD Edwards customer gets these, to deploy as part of their cloud infrastructure. In this example, let's just take a look at the next slide. I'll show you how multi-factor authentication can work. So we've deployed this recently for Volvo Penta, a JD Edwards customer, headquartered in Sweden, but with global operations manufacturing in Brazil, in Mexico, in China, in India, and in Europe. Their users, again, come across public internet now, not going across any expensive wide area networks or MPLS services. The users come in, hit the web application firewall, and next slide, you'll hit the load balancer. They then are direct the users. The load balancer says, "Oh, I don't know who you are. I'm going to send you off to an identity management service." Next slide. The identity management service says, "Right, okay, we're federated with an identity managed service provider, which in this particular case is Azure." Next slide. And next again. Azure asks the user for their username and password, and then asks them to do multi-factor authentication through a multi-factor authentication device on their mobile application, after which Azure sends it back to Oracle. Next slide. Where Oracle then sends it back with the identity management service, then sends it back to the load balancer, complete with what we call the JWT token. Next slide. And the JWT token is accepted by JD Edwards, configured in your JD Edwards WebLogic setup, to say, I now know who the user is. I know what roles they have, what privileges they have. I'm going to log them straight into the application without challenging them for username and password within JD Edwards. So true single sign-on, true multi-factor authentication, which has been around in JD Edwards for a long time. You've had that capability within JD Edwards for a good few years now, but it's never been essentially free, whereas it's now a free of charge capability. And it doesn't matter which cloud you use or which identity management service provider you use. These are plug and play technologies. Next slide, please. Oracle Cloud also surrounds all of the infrastructure within your cloud with what we call CloudGuard. So CloudGuard is a proactive cloud management tooling built within the Oracle Cloud infrastructure that is looking for vulnerabilities on your platform. It's protecting those workloads. It deals with what is essentially our number one threat, so the misconfiguration. So to give you an example, in CloudGuard, I can say, well, actually, I never open a port to a public port to the internet, and then even if my cloud infrastructure person were to open that port on the firewall, CloudGuard would step in and say, sorry, that's not allowed, and automatically close that that port. I think we've lost the presentation. I am getting very near the end of it though. So so that was really, I think, the last slide I had to show. There was the next slide was really talking about some customers that have deployed, JDE Edwards customers that have deployed on Oracle Cloud. About 200 JDE Edwards customers today have deployed on Oracle Cloud infrastructure. We've deployed over 30 customers on Oracle Cloud infrastructure, and importantly for you guys in South Africa, understand that these aren't just large organizations with deep pockets and large amounts of infrastructure. Some of our smallest JDE Edwards customers are running JDE Edwards on Oracle Cloud. Triska Energy, that are just 3 JDE Edwards users using JDE Edwards. I talked about Adnams, the brewery company, running on Oracle Cloud a moment ago. These companies trust JDE Edwards. Oh, thank you. That's Avon at the top left-hand side. We all know Avon Cosmetics. They've been invested in JDE Edwards for many years, now moving their infrastructure to Oracle Cloud, moving out of the data center business. I know we talked about Circle K on the right-hand side. Pizza Hut that you see there, we lifted them from World Software in a transformational upgrade to 9.2 hosted on Oracle Cloud. I mentioned Inspired Education in my presentation. The logo's not up here. This is a company that's deploying to schools all over the world, 11 of those schools in South Africa. So these companies are not looking at cloud because they're coming from a position of where they've got great infrastructure and great technology and great resources. Often they're coming because they don't have those things and they need it, and they can get it provisioned through somebody like Cloud. Berry Global down at the bottom right-hand corner, one of the world's largest plastics manufacturing companies, operating all of their JDE Edwards instances on Oracle Cloud, having moved out of an IBM data center with running on an IAX platform. So many names in many different industries, pharmaceuticals to mining, food services, Pizza Hut there as the example, or Cargill, to transportation and logistics, DX on the left-hand side. Lots of different use cases. So there are plenty of customers who you can talk to understand what their journey to the cloud looked like and what their experience of it has been so far. Next slide, please.
I think that's the last one.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Right.
I actually have a daughter to get to school, so I am going to, if there is any questions, Darren is going to be able to answer them all for me.
Thank you very much, Christian, and again, apologies for overrunning. So, and for everybody that could stay on, are there any questions that we can pose right now? Darren will field any of the Oracle Cloud questions. Perfect, then thank you everybody, and again, our apologies for overrunning, and we will send out the presentations to everybody that attended. Thank you, everyone.